Can look at the accounting profession two ways. In one way, we are on the precipice of greatness. There are so many opportunities, so many wonderful technologies coming through, and the profession has a real opportunity to impact the world. The other way of looking at this is accountancy is looking over a cliff edge. People are not taking up accounting degrees. AI is changing everything. Compliance has downward pressures on fees. Clients are asking for advisory, but accountants are not stepping up. The whole thing's a great big mess. We've got somebody to tell us the state of the profession. It is Steve Cox. Steve, where are we on those cliff edges? Is it a good look or a bad look?
Kind of depends on your outlook. It kind of feels like everyone's got one foot in and one foot off the cliff at the
Right.
moment. So overall, I would suggest that we're in a very positive point of view for what's going on with the profession right now. We've seen a lot of issues, not just in the last year, but beyond that. And in fact, probably back since COVID was really in force, that we've had a lot of change going on and we've come through that change positively. Now, you're absolutely right. There is some issues that are going on right now, and kind of the state of the profession feels like it is in flux. But let me explain why I think that it's actually really positive. So, one of the big things that we face as accountants and bookkeepers and CPA firms is really around the fact that there's a lot of things that go on in the world that impact what we deliver as a service.
Yeah.
So those kind of like economic impacts of, let's be honest, constantly changing market conditions, supply chain issues for your clients, the fact that we've got wars going on across the world are impacting all of the different markets that our clients work within. Now, that is let's be honest, that's a turbulent time for most clients. But what it is doing is driving a real increase in the amount of work that's coming to an accountant because, as the trusted business advisor,
Mm.
they've been asked to do so much. Now, that has a couple of different points on it. The first of which is that it means that it's really important for to fill these roles within an accountancy firm.
Well, we're going to talk in a
And
minute
what?
about the most sought after entry level jobs,
Yeah,
and you've
exactly.
got some slides that we're going to show our viewers here. So, but carry on.
Yeah, exactly. So the accounting is becoming well, not becoming, it's becoming more of a sought after profession, right? With all of these different turbulent times that are going on, people want a bit of steadity in their lives. And part of that is, it goes back to the old edict of there's only two things certain in life, which is death and taxes. So accountants cover off the taxes piece. So that's one of the two sorted. So when you look at all of the jobs that are out there year on year, the as an entry level job, so for people joining an industry,
So we'll bring
the
this up on the
accountancy
screen now for
profession.
people watching the YouTube video. You've got this graphic here that's talking about
Yeah,
the. Go on.
this has come from Visual Capitalist, and what it does is it shows the year on year change as an increase in the entry level salaries for them. So there's three that I've kind of highlighted here for you, which is the accounting coordinator, tax preparer, and a quality auditor. All three key roles that are within any accounting professional firm.
Yeah.
And those have seen year on year increases between 125% and 131% of the entry level salaries.
Wow.
Now, that, you could look at that and say, well, why is that? Well, one is that accountants need more staff than ever. We know we've got a bit of a talent shortage, which we'll talk about in a bit more in a moment. But actually, it shows that there's a real sought after high level of skills, and people are willing to be paid higher for it, and firms are willing to pay more. So what that really means is that if you want good quality staff, you're going to probably have to go pay more for them. Now, there is a little bit of a generational piece, is that it's not just around the salary, it's around the whole package. People want benefits behind it. They want the flexibility of being able to work from home as well. And that's one of the big things that we've kind of seen in 2024, is that this working from home piece has become almost a standardized piece that new entrants to the market want. And people within the profession are really pushing hard on, do you know what, I quite like the flexibility of being able to work from home, and they don't want to go back to the office five
Yeah.
days a week. So we are seeing some pushback on that. But we talked a bit about the talent and skill shortage, and I've got a piece here that talks all around the kind of what's happening when firms are being asked for more and more work. So what happens? We said already that in these turbulent times, there's an awful lot of people that are coming to accountants, clients, and prospects that are asking for their help. Now, as a part of that, if you haven't got the staff, what do? Do you, one, go look at the clients you've already got and go, well, these ones aren't making me any profit, and these are the ones that we're breaking even, and we go, well, we've only got so much room to be able to cover, so we get rid of those clients and pass them on to maybe another firm, or do they turn work away? Well, the survey that came out of CPA Trendline showed that 42% of those surveyed are actually turning work away.
That's scary, isn't it?
It's very scary, right? And it kind of comes back to the accountants are a professional services business, and what I always deem as a yes firm, rather than looking at themselves as a business and answering the question of no when they should do. So should we continue with serving and providing services to a client who's not making us any money? No. But everybody wants to help, so the answer is always yes. So it often gets referred to as these D-list clients that they should be passed on. You should say no to them and move them on. There's another part that really is important that we're kind of seeing right now, which is a big part of kind of the client expectations as well. So whether they are those D-list clients or whether they're your A-list clients, the ones that are making the most money, they're all asking accountants for more and more. Now, it kind of comes in a couple of different bits, and Key Pay's State of the Accounting report back in 2022, although it's still prevalent now, is that client expectations have increased. Now, this has kind of come off the back of lockdown, where you were turning to your trusted business advisor to go and ask anything, whether it be to do with the way that they're running their business, whether it's the way they're hiring, whether it's to do with their tax, whether it's to do with investments, all of the above and more. And so 82% of those people that completed the survey said, well, actually, they all agreed that client expectations had increased. Why? What was it that the expectations had changed? One of it was around response times. So 60% of those people who responded said, well, actually, it's the fact that clients want a faster response time. We kind of live in a world now where everything is available on demand. So why would an answer from your accountant, your trusted business advisor, not be instant as well?
Yeah.
What really surprised me is that 56% of the respondents, and you've got to remember the respondents are CPAs, accountants, bookkeepers, over half of them anticipate that clients will have a desired increase in their support and technology from their accountant. And it's the technology bit for me that's really important, because historically accountants have always been seen as that the person behind the figures, around the numbers, in some regards the data, not around the technology and how it's used. But that pendulum seems to be shifting.
So, Steve, we're asking the question, how do firms deal with staffing shortages? We talked about the entry-level jobs and everything else. You've said 42% are turning away work. Just looking at this graphic, and if you're listening in your car or on the audio podcast, some are saying it's not a problem for us, staffing shortages, but some are hitting burnout, aren't they? Some are outsourcing. Just talk us through some of the options when firms are short of good quality staff.
Whilst turning away work is the highest one of the respondents of 42%, it's worthwhile exploring the others. So 27% said, well, do you know what? It's not a problem for us. They've either got the resources or they can scale.
Maybe they're overstaffed right now so they can soak it up.
Potentially, but then I suppose that flips into one of the other ones that's in here as well, which is that they're outsourcing some of the work to a third party or to a resourcing company who can scale for them. So that was 24% of them. So there's probably a joined at the hip point for those. One of the ones that does worry me, though, is around the burnout. And they're saying that the reason why they're turning work away is it might be a case that they've got the resources and they've got the capability to do it, but 24% of them are saying that our mindset is not right, our mental health is not right, we are hitting burnout, we need to give the staff a bit of a relaxer. So therefore, they're turning work away to not pile more onto them, which, let's be honest, that's a good thing. It's good that managers and partners are recognizing that. But if you're running a business, then the question you've really got to ask yourself is, why have they hit burnout in the first place? What have you not done prior to this point to stop that from happening?
So as well as outsourcing, they're upgrading technology and processes and things. They're looking at M&A activity. There are a few more outcomes here with the staff shortage, aren't there?
There are, and it kind of goes to show that every firm is slightly different in the way that they approach this. Yeah. There is no one size fits all when it comes to an accounting firm. One of the things I do think is interesting is that those that are saying that they're turning work away, the reason why they're saying they're turning the work away is because they're looking to mergers and acquisitions. Yeah. Now, what does that tell you? That says that they'd rather go and buy a client list inorganically then grow their business organically by taking more work on, or they know it's coming, so therefore they'd rather wait until the acquisition is done, and then once the dust is settled, then go and move forwards with it.
Yeah. That's excellent. Now, one of the key aspects of the state of the profession right now is how client expectations are changing. We've got a wonderful graphic that we'll put up here on the YouTube, the video, but just talk us through it.
Yeah, indeed. The TPay State of the Accounting report back in 2022, which is still prevalent today, focused all around how client expectations have changed. And those of us that are practice owners or work with accounting firms will have seen this constantly growing in the background over the last few years. The clients are expecting more. My view is that this has come off the back of COVID, that where accountants have got closer to their clients during lockdown and during COVID, that actually they're being asked more of. The report itself talks around three key areas that have massively changed. The first of which is that 82% of those that responded said they agree that client expectations have increased. Where have they increased? Well, currently it's been increased around response time. So 60%, nearly 2/3 of those that responded said they expect clients to want a faster response times. And we live in a world where we're constantly connected now, that we all kind of expect things in real time. So why would you not expect that from your trusted business advisor? The last bit, though, is a real interesting one, which is that 56% of those responded anticipated that clients would want an increase in their desire for support and technology. So they turn to their accountant to help them with their technology choices within their business, for further support around the technology and around the wider part of their business. So in some regards, you could say that the outlook is really positive for an accountant. There's more work coming their way.
When you think of the typical accounting role, though, you're an accountant yourself, so you can speak with authority on this. I'm just a former high school math teacher, but accountants have to be technically really strong, but more and more they're expected to be technologically strong, aren't they? It's more than turning a computer on and off. So if clients are demanding more support and better technology to serve them and the more complex demands, then accountants are going to need to step up. So can you dive a little bit more into the technology side of this for us?
Yeah, completely. What is fascinating is you right on that whole mindset shift bit, and we'll touch on that in a minute. But what we are seeing is that the technology is now starting to drive some of the compliance. Behind the scenes, it's always been a point that the accountant is the expert, to your point, those technical skill sets, how to get to the right result on the tax return, how to complete the final accounts, and so on and so forth. It's a technical skill that you are trained in for years. Now what we're starting to see is that instead of getting a set of rules that are in a printed bound book, you're now getting something like a schematron or an XML document that an accountant has to follow, and therefore they have no choice in some regards as to the way the output comes out from a technology perspective. So they need to understand that. It probably goes all the way back to 2010, certainly in the UK, where IXBRL came in. Who would have thought that in the accounting world we'd start talking about dimensions and things like that in terms of the technology? But now we do, and it becomes commonplace. But it's going to shift more again because technology is evolving at such a rate. And whilst being an accountant, I'm also a self-proclaimed geek. I love a bit of technology. But the way that tech's going to get adopted probably in the future, and we're talking in the short term, 2025 through to 2027, it's going to massively change. And the future of job survey, which we can show as a screen grab in the YouTube channel right now, showed that there were some big areas of mainstream adoption. So I've highlighted a few on here, that cloud computing, big data analytics, the Internet of Things and connected devices, encryption and cybersecurity, artificial intelligence, which has been the major hot word in 2024.
Yeah.
But added to that, augmented reality and virtual reality, as well as them, the whole distributed ledger technology, Bitcoin, cryptocurrency. These are all things that we're starting to see a change, as in a difference, the largest amount of difference for people going forward compared to 2018 through to 2025 and 2017, as in their adoption of.
Yeah.
So we're seeing a big shift in future tech being used more mainstream.
So in summarizing here, talk to us about the key challenges today facing accountants.
Well, we kind of summarize those areas we've just talked around as the fact that there's more demand coming in from outside the accountants world already from those economic impacts. Now, those are, in some regards, being driven by technology, because a lot of that can either be the legislation is now being dictated by technology, or the demand is coming from the tech where actually a client wants a service from an accountant. We know that there is a talent shortage globally for accounting professions. In the UK, we've started to see the growth rate of the number of students entering in reduce. We've also seen the number of students that then qualify reduce further, and the growth rate as well. So it's becoming harder to get good talent, and actually means we're paying more for it, like we talked about already. Expectations from clients and customers are going through the roof. They want things quicker, faster, more accurate, and more digitally as well, being driven by technology. But it's really difficult to keep up with all of those tech changes. Who has time to go and understand what all of the blockchain technology could mean in the future, let alone the latest AI piece that comes out pretty much daily at the moment for how things are being done in the industry?
Well, the concern, particularly with accountants burning out and being super busy, is their ability to adapt and pivot and be agile, because they're not known for their agility, are they? They're kind of resistant to change. Just talk to us about that problem of the reputation of accounting being laggards.
The old premise in it comes from the Rogers diffusion curve of technology adoption. Believe it or not, it came from farming originally, but it talks around how 50% of any market is going to be resistant to change because they will wait until there's an impending event to go around adopt a new piece of technology, versus those that are either the followers that are going, well, actually, my friend's got this piece of tech, or I've seen this as a review, I'm really interested in it, it's a new piece of tech, I'm going to go buy it, versus those that are leaders who are desperately waiting for that next bit of tech to be the first one to use it, to find new ways to enhance the way that they work or to rewrite the way they work.
Yeah.
And whilst it might be 50% of any market, you could argue that actually it was probably closer to 75% of the accounting profession would be seen as like the laggards, the status quos of adopting technology.
Yeah.
It does feel that that has started to shift. Pandemic has helped in that digital piece, but actually it's also to do with not just the technology adoption from being a leader, a follower, or a laggard. It also is important about mindset as well.
Well, talk us through mindset in your work with Concentric. I know you've been with Iris a long time, and you are looking at a new season in your life. You're putting together insights into the profession like this. Mindset's a big thing for you, isn't it, with technology?
Massively so, because you can have technology forced upon you, but you never, and that might be an adoption piece to say, well, how we're using this piece of tech, and it might be just a piece of cloud technology or the latest piece. But if you've not got the right mindset to use it and how it's going to change what you do, then it's going to fail. And I love music, so I always liken it to the music industry, that you've got those that are analog mindsets, who is a bit like the old Sony Walkman, brilliant piece of technology, and it meant that you could take music no matter where you went. But really, what were you doing? You had to have the cassettes for the music, you had to have the AA batteries to then power it, and you still had to own the music. In the accounting profession, that is very much like a case of everything's on paper or it's on a local server without access to it. You've got to take it with you no matter where you go to access it. And a lot of it's paper, so there's a lot of manual process, changing of cassettes, going back to the paper records and reviewing it and updating it. Versus when you think about it, then the next step in the personal music industry was an evolution of like when the iPod or the Microsoft Zune or another came along, where what did it do? Everyone was like, this has revolutionized what's going on. Well, I kind of argue to say it made things better, but it didn't revolutionize it, because what did you do? You swapped cassettes for MP3s. You could have a lot more of them. You still had to own them. But then, oh, well, it's got a rechargeable battery. Well, that's great. You don't need the AA batteries, but it still needs to be charged. And probably it had its own custom charge port as well. So in the accounting profession, that's very much like those firms that have gone from paper-based or desktop-based solutions, and have then used a piece of technology to digitize what they were doing. So it might be hosting to remote desktop access into it. It might be OCR and scanning to take those paper documents and put them into a digital firewall and vault to be able to access those and go through document management. But all it's done is automate some of the things that you've already done before or digitize them. It's not changed the way you've worked. Whereas you look at those that are much more of a digital mindset. And again, we'll go back to the music industry. This then becomes where things of streaming devices came along: Spotify, Apple Music, Deezer. All of these were streaming of music. You didn't need to own it anymore. You could just pay a subscription and you could have access to more music than you could listen to in your lifetime. And it didn't become device dependent. You could listen to it on anything, whether it be your phone, your iPad, your computer, your watch, any of these. It suddenly became accessible everywhere. Take that to the accounting profession. And what we see here is that people are now looking at technology to revolutionize the way they work. Instead of finding a piece of tech that will automate the A to B to C to D, they'll look to tech to go, how do I rewrite my process so I can go straight from A to D? Yeah. And it's that rewiring of processes and rewriting of them that's a digital mindset, because you're always looking for, is there a better way of doing this, rather than how can I replicate what I'm doing?
And here on the Accounting Influencer podcast, we bring you the drivers of change, the disruptors, the trends, the insights, the news stories, and help you be more influential, more impactful, more authoritative, to get ahead of things in your accounting firm so you can lead better and be a voice of your firm and set strategic direction better. That's what we're all about. Steve, as we close off this section, we're going to talk about technology, the latest tech that people need to be thinking about more deeply. We'll talk about that in another episode, but just make a distinction for us between technology mindset and technology adoption.
Yeah, and let's be honest, it's a balancing act, right? Because you can't say we're going to go and adopt all the latest technology if you've got an analog mindset. Just as the same as if you're a digital mindset, you're not going to be going, well, actually, we're all right with all of those paper files back in the office, because it is very much a case of it's a clash between the two. And in some regards, you probably want a little bit of a blend of each. And you will have a blend of each within any professional services firm. You will have those people that will go, oh, it's not broke, let's not fix it. Or more of a, it's not broke, let's not rewire it and start it all over again. Yeah. Versus those that are really pushing hard to go, oh my God, I've just seen this great piece of tech, we should be using it. So it's not a case of finding something new that needs a home, or a home that needs something new. You've got to get that balancing act. And what a lot of firms do is they'll either lend into one way and have a bit of fear of missing out, where they can see all of these people adopting technology and going, oh, we're cloud first. The instant mindset is, well, we should be doing that. Yeah. We should be following that. Versus those that are going, well, actually, we've got a good profit margin. And actually, I don't want to disrupt things, because potentially I'm going to go exit in a few years. So I don't want to disrupt that payout or that exit valuation by investing in future tech. So it is very much a balancing piece of looking at the staff that are there, the partners, and looking at the firm's level of adoption of technology versus the mindsets of the leaders within the business.
Yeah. And Steve, just to close, what advice would you give to the people in accounting firms that are digitally aware? They do have a technology mindset. They are focused on adoption. Perhaps they're pushing against the culture of the firm, or the processes, or the business model, or the comp structure. Yeah. When we look at today, there's digital firms, there's digitally aware firms, there's analog firms. Just wrap all this up for us with advice to the accounting leaders listening.
Yeah, certainly. The important thing is we are seeing the shift, right? We're seeing those analog firms go to digitally aware firms becoming digitized, and we're seeing those digitally aware firms and the digital.
And you've got some proportions here that you've dug out. So just talk us through those.
The market at the moment seems to be very much a third of firms that are out there are these truly digital firms. Now, can you ever be truly digital when the technology is constantly evolving? But let's be honest, the goalposts are constantly moving for what is a truly digital firm. But a third of firms that we've spoken to, certainly from an Irish point of view, are truly digital. Those that are looking at technology to rewrite the way they're working. Just under 2/3 are then these digitally aware ones. Why is there such a big proportion there? Because they've had to digitize in the new markets, in the way that they're working with clients and with customers, and ultimately with staff, because they want to be able to work from anywhere, had to digitize to do that. There is still a small slither, and we're talking less than 3%, who are still analog firms.
But that's still thousands of firms, Steve, isn't it?
It is thousands. And you might go, well, why is that such a high number? Well, let's be honest. If you're a one-man band and you've got one machine, well, then you don't need it on the cloud, because the machine goes everywhere with you, right? Or you're getting ready for retirement, that we talked already. So it's an important distinction. But the shift is we're seeing analog testing it out the waters by digitizing some areas of their business. It's almost like I think of it as a digital band-aid to help them to drive it. And that's driving up valuations of firms. But to make the most of it, what a lot of firms are now doing, this is the trend we're seeing, is going from being a digitized firm who've got some cloud, they've got some automation, and going, right, I see the potential of this. How can I use that tech to its best advantage and rewrite it? So you asked me the question of what would I advise people? Two things. One, build on the momentum. We've already seen this shift going across the whole market in the UK, in the US, and globally for accounting firms going digital. Continue to drive on that momentum. Don't kind of sit back and go, oh, well, I'll ride the crest of it. Actually be at the front of it and keep looking. It is an ever evolving technology marketplace. The second one for me would be look at what the strategy of the firm is at the top level. Is it growth? Is it productivity? Or is it potentially an exit strategy? Technology and its evolution and its digitization of it will help with each of those goals. If it's around growth, then technology can help to bring more clients in. If it's around productivity, then actually technology is your best way to go and drive a better efficiency within your firm. Or if it's an exit value, think about what the buyer is going to do. Are they going to go and buy an analog firm and then go spend a load of money on digitizing it because that was more likely the way they're going to work? Or are they going to look at a firm who's already on that digital journey to go and then acquire?
Crazy times. Steve Cox, thank you so much. That's amazing insight. And that's exactly what our listeners, our viewers need. So I'm encouraging you all to stay informed, stay relevant, stay current at whatever time of the year, whatever age we are in. The opportunities are great for accountants that can stay in the game. Thank you so much for listening and watching. We'll see you on the next episode of Accounting Influencers.